Now in this video I'm going to show you 5 top tips for catching IDE this autumn and going into winter time. I'm on the Jack's pool here at Weston pools and we're fishing on the famous Peg 17, which is around the corner. So let's get over on the box and get through my 5 key IDE fishing tips. Tip number 1 is going to be all about my rig, and for me it's about going as light as you possibly can. Now what I mean by this is I want my maggots or casters, which I'm going to be using, to fall through the water nice and slow, so it just gives me more chance of the bait falling through the water, more time for them eyes to see and to catch them. Even though you can catch them quite quick and quite well at the start of sessions, they are quite a finicky fish, and if you don't get a few things right, I feel like if you have a too heavy rig you can miss out on that. So I've literally just got a short kit with a 9s hollow elastic in. Now the elastic is really important. In the depths of winter I will use like a 7s jaw slip, but for now, this time of year, we can catch in a few, it's still good fishing, so I'm still going to be catching a lot of IDE, so I'm going to use a 9 hollow elastic, just because if I use like a 10s or 11s, they're a weird fish. They don't really fight, they just like wallow around and they don't really like plod around, not like F1s and stuff where they go down, they just wallow around. So you want a nice soft elastic, but the key is you don't want to go too soft because you want to set that hook and make sure it doesn't come out. Like I said, they wallow around, then you can move your hook around. If you've got too light of elastic on, you can't hook them fish right and you can end up losing more fish than not. So over the years, just a 9s hollow elastic's a nice elastic for me. In the depths of winter, I'll just use like a 7s jaw slip, something like that, but that's when fishing's rock bottom, but it's not at the minute. And then what I like to do is fish a little bit lighter on my main line. So I've just got 013 power line, two little back shot there. Now, one thing I do like to do with the length of my rig is I like to put all my rigs like 3.5 foot. So why I do this is it allows me to fish probably from anything from 3 foot up to 12 inches. But the shallower I go, the more line I want above my pole float. What I mean by that is the lash here. So I want more line. It's because the water's going quite clear now, and these IDE are quite aggressive, like I say, but they spook off your pole tip. So that's why I've just got a little ghost kit. I have a longer piece of line between my floats. You only need one rig sort of thing, which makes everything nice and easy. Let's pull that down. Nice and easy, but set it about 3.5 foot, the whole length of the rig, and then you can play around. You can have a fish 2.5 foot, 2 foot, 18 inch, 12 inch, even up to 6 inch sometimes, 3 foot. Now the float itself is an F1 shallow in a 4B8. This is what I mean by light. I want it nice and light, and this float has got all the characteristics, can't speak, which I want for my IDE fishing. I want a carbon stem float. Like I said, I want it to fall through the water. I want it to chase it round, so that's what I'm looking for. Nice visible tip so I can see all them little dinks, small little body on it, and then literally my shotting pattern is just strung out. So what I mean by this is I've just got one under the float, and then I probably evenly spaced apart up until the top of my hook length, just a shot. Number 11's got 3 number 11s and a little, it's either number 11 or number 12 start on there. So the start I can move it down if I need to, but I'm never really going to move this into a bulk. Because this time of year, like I said, all I'm trying to achieve is that falling through the water nice and slowly. And then literally I've just got a 4-inch hook length of 010, AccuPower, nice and light, and then a new XFS, size 16, nicely on there, so I can put 1 or 2 maggots on if I need to. 4 inches. If it goes a little bit cooler in the winter months, I will look to use 6 inches just because it gives a nice little fall. But for now, the fishing's still good, like I said, and we've got a 4-inch hook length. So that's my rig. Dead simple and dead effective when used right. Tip number 2 is all about bait. Now, with IDE fishing, I've found over the years that natural baits work miles better than sort of like pellets and corn for these IDE. Yes, you do catch a few fish in them, but that's because of the commercials and that's what they get fed. But to catch a real big weight or have a great day's fishing on these IDE, maggots and casters can't be beat. Now, worms can come into it and the fish are a little bit big or you're fishing on the bottom, but today, and especially around the complex here at Weston, I'm only looking to going to be using maggots or casters. Now, this just depends on time of year. If it's in the height of summer months, I feel like casters outscore maggots every single time. They make a lot more noise, they still sink nice and slowly, but it just attracts them IDE for the noise and they love crunching on them. But also as well, especially here at Weston, it attracts the F1s and all sorts of skimmers and stuff in the summer months. Now this time of year, as soon as the water goes clear, I want to fish maggots. Nice slow falling bait, really attractive to everything, and to be honest, that's my main hook bait. But in the summer months, I've got some casters, but I know from previous experience of catching eyed, say like at Bradshaw fishery, casters can be brilliant if you've got a bigger stamp sort of eyed. So depending where your fisheries are and what you're trying to do, these are the two baits I'd look to use. I'm being a bit specific here because it's obviously Western pools and that's where most of my winter fishing is going to be, and I know maggots will probably outscore casters every single time, but it just depends what venue. But there's only two, so it's nice and simple and nice and easy to fish. One or two of them on the hook. You can loose feed a few casters if you need to, just depending. You don't need much bait. I've probably got a pint of casters and a pint and a half of maggots. Loose feed them, it'll last me a few hours, catch loads of fish, nice clear water, you can see that. Conjunction with your rig, you've got onto a winner. Now tip number 3 is going to be all about feeding. How do you go about feeding? How much are you going to feed? And what is the best option for trying to catch eyed, especially when through the winter months? Now for me, eyed love visually feeding. So what I mean by that is they love loose feed. So loose feeding a few casters like this or a few maggots, it just creates a bit of noise, a bit of attraction to the water, falling through all the time, and especially eyed love it. Now volumes and amounts, you don't really need to go mad. As I've said before, eyed are gorge feeders. So what I mean by this is they come in packs, they come really quickly, and often you'll find in the early part of your match you'll have to feed next to nothing, 8 to 10 maggots just twice, just to create a little bit more noise, a little bit of volume going through the water. But you don't really need to feed much to try and catch these fish out, especially when you're fishing with casters. That's why I like them in the summer months, is you don't really need to feed half as many maggots, just because they create a nice noise when you chuck them in, and it's just nice and easy to catch them on them. But as well, if you're loose feeding maggots, you can be a little bit more aggressive. Now about amounts and timings, I like to just feed feed twice and just give it like 30 or 40 seconds depending on, say, this time of year. Now if it's a little bit cooler, I'd probably feed a little bit less, say it's 8 to 10, and then or 6 to 10, something like that, and just regularly just loose feed a few through your peg. And all you're going to do is just draw, as them maggots fall through the water, you're just going to draw them fish in, and often and not you'll see I've got some fish swirling there, so when they're there they can give a telltale sign. Obviously in the depths of winter they're not going to do that, but for now that's what we've got today. So yeah, loose feeding for me outscores anything. Nice regular feeding, little and often amounts is going to be the key to trying to catch these eyed through the water. Now sorry to interrupt the video, but don't forget to like and subscribe. It just helps with the channel, and I'll let you get back to the rest of the video now. Now tip number 4 is going to be all about depths. What depths do you start at these fish? How do you go about fishing for them, and where to look to fish for an ideal depth? Now for me, I'd personally like to fish just a little bit deeper than I think the fish are. So say for example the fish are they're feeding at 12 inches deep. I'd look to maybe put my rig 14 to 16 inches deep. You think that the extra 2 to 4 inches can make a massive difference? It can. Now the reason why I like to do this is because I like the bait to just fall past them. I don't want it static above them. I feel like you can miss a few bites like that. I want them chasing it, and as they want to chase it on the drop. So ideally you'll sort of know if you've got the right depth or you're at the right place. If you start missing loads of bites, I'd look to shallow up, but don't shallow up too fast. Now what I mean by that is don't shallow up, say I'm fishing there and I'm missing a few bites at 2 foot. I won't just go to 12 inch straight away. I'd just get my rig in line with depth marker, just go 22 inch. But also make sure you pull your back shot so it's sat nice and still. And then if you feel like you're still missing a few, pull it down again another 2 inch. If you feel like you stop getting bites, which can happen, if you stop getting bites at 22 inch and you feel like, right, well, I feel like the fish are at 24 inch, move it back. This is the versatility of having just one rig, a little bit longer piece of line, and also when you're fishing, you can keep it nice and still, and don't drop your pole too far. Just concentrate on keeping your back shot and level your float like a little L shape, and the rest will do it for you. Often when you've got the feeding right and the tactics and the depth right, which I spoke about, the fish can just pull your elastic out anyway. So ideally looking, it's hard to say because every venue's different and things change around, but you find I want to feed quite high when there's a lot of fish there. So I'd probably look to start about probably 14 to 16 inches deep. If I needed to, I can come to 10 or 12 inches deep, And then as the session goes on, I feel like the fishing's getting a little bit harder and you thin them fish out, because like I said, they do come in packs. So you're gonna have to go a little bit deeper. But this is the beauty about these fish. It's not just like you catch them at 12 inches deep and that's that. You can move around, chase them around, and it just makes it exciting and fun fishing. So I've got a few fish swirling there now. So when I go out in a minute, I'm literally gonna pull it down to 18 inches deep, and that's where I'm gonna fish to start off with. So I've got a nice long piece of line, I'll move my back shot. Nice long piece of line between my pole tip and my float. So just keep everything in control, make sure I flick it past, everything's tight, and probably 99% certain if I'm going to get a bite on the drop, it's going to pull my elastic out anyway, because like I said, they are aggressive and they are feeding quite high up in the water. So depth can be really important with your IDE fishing. Play about with it, but remember, just fish a little bit deeper than you think you need to, just so you got that extra fall, so you can make it nice and easy and make more IDE into your net. Now my fifth and final tip is going to be about hooking your hook bait. Now this may sound simple, just literally, if you've picked up a maggot, just hook it through the fin and fat end and away you go. So that, there you go, you've got a single maggot, hook through the fat end, it's going to fall down. But I find there's a few little key things with IDE fishing which you can do. First one is, when there's a few fish there and you feel like you're going to be a lot of fish, you can't beat a double maggot. Like I said, the gorge feeders, the greedy fish, just a double maggot, just a little bit bigger bait, then fish will pinpoint it out, fly in, grab it as quick as they can, and it'll just convert their missed bites into bites, and obviously fish in the net just by changing from a single to a double. Now, as I said before, as the session goes on and gets a little bit harder, obviously fishing with a single maggot would be really good. You can either hook it through the fin end or the fat end, but I like to hook it through the side. So go about doing this, and the reason why I like it is because it falls a lot more natural and there's a lot more hook point exposed. I feel like it's really important with IDE fishing. They've got, I wouldn't say they've got bony mouths, but they've got big mouths and they feed quite aggressively, so they feed quite quickly. They're not like a slow plodder like a carp or a bream. They're quite quick and they're quite aggressive, so the more hook point I can have exposed, the better for me. So all I do is just fold the maggot in half basically, and it creates a little boom there, and literally just pinch it with my hook. So the maggot just lies flat on my hook, so it's falling through the water natural like it would if it was falling down, and I've got most of my hook point exposed, which to me is one of the most important things. Right, you spoke about all the 5 tips, so let's put it into practice and try and catch one for you. So I'm just going to slip a red and white maggot on nice and double. Now I don't like to feed before I go out, just because I feel like I can sometimes get a little quick bite just off the noise of my rig. So what I mean by it is when I lay my rig in, obviously I've not fed anything, so the noise of my rig, the fish come up looking for bait, and they just, my hook bait, there's a quick bite straight away. So like that, my hook bait's the only one, and the fish come up and take it, and you can just loose feed as you're shipping back. Now with IDE, just keep your pole nice and low, take your time. I just like to take it off at my short number 3, go down to my top kit, keep everything nice and low. See, they wallow on the top and just lift them up. I can net them with ease, but the real great weight builders, and through the winter months you can catch them still shallow on the bottom, stuff like that. But just remember, if you do fish on the bottom for them, just fish nice and light and you can catch some great fish like this one. So I'm going to pop him down. I'm going to have another one just because we had that one nice and quick, but I'm just going to pop on 2 white maggots, nice strung out shotting pattern. So I'm not going to feed again, just going to go straight out to my mark. One thing I'm looking for is keep everything nice and tight in a straight line, flick it past my pole because they like to hang off the back of it, keep my back shot level with the water, pick my maggots up, loose feed, there you go, pull my elastic out. Like I said, when you get it right, and because I've been loose feeding while I've been talking in that video, you're just building them up, and that's a little trick which if you stayed for this bit of the video you can have for free, because that is one of my most deadly edges for catching IDE, is not feeding before I go out, just because it creates a little bit of competition, a little bit of noise in your rig, and you can catch him nice and easy. But look at that, peas in a pod, that one, same as the other one. But I'm going to hold him up for you, get him out. So there you go, lovely IDE to finish on. Use them tips, Don't put your gear away this autumn and winter. Get out, catching a few of these fish, little bit of bait, nice light rigs, target some hide, and you can have a great day's sport. So thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.